Good morning. I'm going to be reading out of Proverbs 31. I'm going to be reading different scriptures in the book of Proverbs, but I'm going to start with chapter 31, and I'm also going to go in the book of Ephesians and the book in Peter as well. The words of King Lemuel, I hope I pronounced his name correctly, but the words of King Lemuel, the prophecy that his mother taught him. What, my son? And what the son of my womb? And what the son of my vows? Give not your strength unto women, nor your ways to that which destroys kings. Now I'm going to skip down to verse 10. Who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. The heart of her husband does safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. She seeks wool and flax and works willingly with her hands. She is like the merchant ships. She brings her food from afar. She rises also while it is yet night and gives meat to her household and a portion to her maidens. She considers a field and buys it. With the fruits of her hands she plants a vineyard. She girds her loins with strength and strengthens her arms. She perceives that her merchandise is good. Her candle goes not out by night. She lays her hands to the spindle, and her hands hold the distaff. She stretches out her hand to the poor, yea, she reaches forth her hands to the needy. She is not afraid of the snow for her household, for all her household are clothed with scarlet. She makes herself coverings of tapestry, her clothing is silk and purple. Her husband is known in the gates, when he sits among the elders of the land. She makes fine linen and sells it. She delivers girdles unto the merchant. Strength and honor are her covering, and they are her clothing, and she shall rejoice in time to come. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and in her tongue is a law of kindness. She looks well to the ways of her household, and eats not the bread of idleness. Her children rise up and call her blessed, her husband also indeed praises her. Many daughters have done virtuously, but you excel them all. Favor is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman that fears the Lord, she shall be praised. Give her the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates. In another translation, in verse 31, it says, Charm is deceitful, and beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. One of the very first things that I think a lot of women should notice is that it is a woman saying this to her son. Speaking to her son about women, I should say. And the very first thing she says to him is, do not give your strength unto women. That's the very first thing she says to him. And if I could put it more moderately, she's basically saying to him, do not cave into women. And if I could put it more moderately, for today's terms, she's saying to him, do not simp. She's saying to him, do not allow a woman to control you. Do not allow a woman to, to make you do what she wants you to do, so to speak. It sounds like that his mother is a very wise woman. The reason why I'm doing this video is because there are a lot of women, in my generation of millennials, and generation Gen Z, and well, even some before that have been told and taught that basically, in order for us women to be strong, we have to overpower men. We have to have I am woman, hear me roar attitude. Anything you can do, I can do better. We are to, overcome men, trample over men, be better than men in jobs, be better than men in this, be better men than that. And that we are to, always act like little victims so we don't get away with men and treat men like absolute trash, even when they are good men. And unfortunately, there are Christian women. Basically, I'm talking about radical feminism. I'm talking about radical feminism and radical feminists. And unfortunately, there are some women who say they are Christians that fall along with this radical belief. But there are many scriptures in the Bible that tells women that we are to never be like that with our men. And we have a woman in Proverbs saying to Lemuel, do not cave onto a woman. Don't you dare do that, Lemuel. And then she talks to him about the virtuous woman. And I think all of us women can learn something from the virtuous woman, myself included. Excuse me. One of the very first things that women should take note of about reading about the virtuous woman is that her husband trusts in her. He trusts her. Why does he trust her? Because she does not do evil unto him all the days of her life. She does not act like the brawling woman. She does not go around whining and complaining over every little thing. She's not, argumentative against her husband. She doesn't, act like this. She's the boss or wears the pants in the relationship. She does not try to override his authority. In other words, she respects him. She respects him as her husband. She gives him the respect that he deserves. And not just that, but she also is a kind woman. She's a woman who speaks wisdom and speaks kindness. She looks after others. She'll get up early in the morning to make sure her household is taken care of, and she either goes out of her way to take care of other people as well. Her attitude, everyone else above me. She does not have that me, I attitude. I have to be treated like a queen above anything and everything else. I have to have my needs taken care of first. You have to, again, do what I want kind of thing. That's not the attitude this virtuous woman has. She puts everyone else above herself. She also thinks ahead. Before winter comes, she makes sure that she makes the clothes that her and her family need so they'll be warm. She is willing to work with her hands if she has to help her husband, provide what they need to provide for the family. She's a hardworking woman. She's an intelligent woman. She is a kind woman. She is not loud. She is not proud, hear me roar kind of woman. She has a quiet, gentle spirit. And she respects her husband. She does not whine and cry about being a seemingly stay-at-home mother. She just gets up and does what she's got to do to take care of her family. and her husband and her children loves her for it. It says that they praise her for all her hard work. And the last thing we need to take note, that women need to take note is verse 30. Is where, did I say 31 earlier? Well, I meant to say verse 30 if I said 31, but anyway. Verse 30 is one of the very last things we need to take note of, which is that beauty is vain. What does that mean? At the end of the day, you being beautiful is only going to take you so far. You may be able to, get a man to be attracted to you. You may be able to manage to get a man in bed with you. But ultimately, your good looks is not what's going to keep him in the end. Even if you are a person that's a 10, you being beautiful is not what's going to keep him. That's not what's going to hold his heart. How you are with your attitude will determine if you'll have his heart or not. And it's the same vice versa. It's the same way, the other way around. It does not matter how good looking a man is, even if he's a 10. If he's got a foul attitude, no one of right mind is not going to want to stay with a man that's a foul and negative dude. And lastly, with verse 30, it says, "But a woman who fears the Lord shall be praised." It does not say a woman who claims to believe in the Lord, but a woman who fears the Lord. What does that mean? That means she serves God. She don't just claim to believe in God, but she actually serves God. She actually obeys his commandments. She actually, in Old Testament times, that means she'd be obeying the commandments. She'd be going, she'd probably be going with her husband to, to the temple. To make sacrifices to the Lord. Basically, she'd be walking with God in faith and not by sight. She does not try to twist and turn God's word in order to somehow make God, bend to her way of life, so to speak. She does not try to do things her way. She does things God's way. God takes note, and God takes note of this. And her husband takes note of this, and her children takes note of this, and other people around her takes note of this. And they're all proud of her. And I'm going to, say, and it might even, in this, and you could probably even ask men who don't believe in God's word, if you go to, straight, manly men kind of men, and you read to them about the virtuous woman and the brawling woman, and you ask them, which one sounds like wife material to you between these two, they're going to hands down say the virtuous woman. They would not, unless they're insane or unless they're a simp. There is no way that they're going to choose the brawling woman. So who is the brawling woman? Or who's the strange woman? The brawling woman is someone who's, the opposite than the virtuous woman. She disrespects her man. She's dishonoring to her man. She's argumentative. She's the type that's me, I attitude. It's all about her. It's all about what she wants. She causes a lot of trouble. And I have to go back and read again, but if I remember correctly, I think there was a scripture, because I haven't read through all Proverbs when it comes to this issue yet, but if I remember correctly, I think that there was a scripture in Proverbs talking about a woman who acts like that is like a rottenness or sickness to a man's bones or something like that. And if I'm correct and it says that, that makes a lot of sense. But let's go to Proverbs, still in Proverbs, chapter 21, verse 9. And it says, "It is better to dwell in a corner of the housetop than with a brawling woman in a wide house." In chapter 25, verses 24, it says basically about the same thing. But let's go to 22:14. "The mouth of strange women is a deep pit. He that is abhorred of the Lord shall fall therein." And let's jump over to 23, verses 27 to 28. "For a HORE is a deep ditch, and a strange woman is a narrow pit. She also lies in wait as for a prey, and increases the transgressors among men." '27 verses 15. "A continual dropping and a very rainy day, and a contentious woman are alike." A continual dropping and a very rainy day, and a contentious woman are alike. I think, though, chapter 7 of Proverbs sums up the strange woman and the brawling woman very well. I mean, it's specifically talking about the strange woman, but I think this could also apply to the brawling woman, and you'll get what I mean here in a minute. Now, I think this chapter is from Solomon. "My son, keep my words, and lay up my commandments with you. Keep my commandments and live, and my law as the apple of your eye. Bind them upon your fingers, write them upon the table of your heart. Say unto wisdom, you are my sister, and call understanding your kinswoman, that they may keep you from the strange woman, from the stranger which flatters with her words. For out the window of my house I looked through my casement, and beheld among the simple ones. I discerned among the youths a young man void of understanding." I'm going to pause it for a second. Remember what I just said earlier about simps? I find it so ironic. And if I remember correctly, I think it's Solomon who wrote this part of Proverbs. He's saying he saw among the simple ones a man void of understanding. And isn't it ironic that today that we call men who allow women to trample all over them, who allow women to wear pants relationships and stuff, isn't it ironic that we call them simps? Simps. I just find it ironic. When I first saw this, I was just I'm gonna honestly I laughed because it just blew my mind. But let's keep going. And beheld among the simple ones, I discerned among the youths a young man void of understanding, passing through the street near her corner. Uh-oh. And he went the way to her house. In the twilight in the evening, in the black and dark night, and behold, there met him a woman with the attire of a harlot and subtle of heart. She is loud and stubborn. Her feet abide not in her house. Now is she without, now in the streets, and lies in wait at every corner. So she caught him and kissed him, and with an impudent face said unto him, I have offerings with me, this day have I paid my vows. Therefore came I forth to meet you, diligently to seek your face, and I have found you. I have decked my beds with coverings of tapestry, with carved works, with fine linen of Egypt. I have perfumed my bed with myrrh, aloes, and cinnamon. Come, let us take our fill of love until the morning. Let us solace ourselves with loves. For the good man is not at home; he is gone a long journey. He hath taken a bag of money with him, and will come home at the day appointed. With her much fair speech she caused him to yield, with the flattering of her lips she forced him. He goes after her straightway, as an ox goes to the slaughter, or as a fool to the correction of the stocks, till a dart strike through his liver, as a bird hastes to the snare, it knows not that it is for his life. Hearken unto me now, therefore, all you children, and attend to the words of my mouth. Let not your heart decline to her ways, go not astray in her paths. For she hath cast down many wounded, yea, many strong men have been slain by her. Her house is the way to hell, going down to the chambers of death. And no, I am not kidding. That's what it literally says. But the thing is, how many men would hear this and say, yeah, it definitely feels that way. It definitely seems that way. I could definitely relate to that. Why? Because they've dealt with a lot of women who had this radical feminist ideal that all men are just trash, that they're incels, that they should not be respected, that they should not be cared about, that they should never be believed, even when it's been proven that they're telling the truth. There are a lot of women my age and younger who act like the Brawling woman. And it does not matter what a man does for them. Even if he caves into her, gives his strength unto her, even if he does that and gives her everything she wants, it's not enough. She will still say that he's a piece of crap if he messes up in any way. Like, if she asks him to get her a Gucci bag, or she asks him to do something else for her and he messes up, or he says he can't do it, all of a sudden he's good for nothing. Even though he's done everything else for her, he's good for nothing. Ladies, let me help you. God did not make men to serve women. God made men to love women and to honor women. Yes, he did, and that's in the Bible. But he did not make men to serve women. He made men to serve him. You women are not to be their head. You're not to be their God, or God is, as you would rather think of yourself to be. You're not to have control over him. You're not to rule over him. God made one person to be ruler over him, and that is himself. There's a scripture in the Bible that says, basically, who are you to judge another man's servant? Men are not your servants, ladies, and they're not supposed to be your servants. Yes, they're supposed to, do for you as Christ did for the church, as says in Ephesians 5. Yes, that's very true. They definitely have no right to put their thumb on you and treat you like trash and try to make you serve them, make you be like a servant to them. That's very true. Men are not to do that. But you ladies are not to do that to them either. And besides, if we're so strong, why do we have to overpower men in order to prove we're strong? Why can't we just be strong where we are as being, what is wrong with being a helpmeet for the husband? If the husband is a good man and he does what he needs to do, what's wrong with just accepting the role of being his helpmeet? Us women were not made to overpower men, period. We're made to help them. Because you see, there are things that men can do that women cannot do as good. And there are things that women can do that men can't do as good at times. We're both different for a reason. We both are different physically, psychologically, and other things. Women are more emotional. While men, they try their best to, or at least, manly men, they try their best to not get emotional unless they absolutely had to. But unfortunately, a lot of radical feminists want to turn men into women like them. But then they have these crazy, back and forth standards. Like, for example, they say they want men to be more sensitive. But when men are sensitive, she still don't want them. Or, women complain that a lot of men treat women bad and say, that men should treat women better, they should, be willing to open the door for them, and blah, blah. But when they cross a man that does that, all of a sudden he's insulting her being strong as a woman. Oh, I don't need you to do that. Don't open that door for me. I can get it myself. I'm independent. Ladies, let me help you. You can't have it both ways. You either want the man to open the door for you or you don't. Don't go back and forth on that. Make up your mind. Me, I personally don't care either way. You see, My husband at times opens the door for me, and at times when we go out to dinner, he pulls the chair out for me. Sometimes he don't. I personally don't care either way. It's not an insult to me if he does it. It's not an insult to me if he doesn't do it. It don't matter to me either way. And I think that's more so the attitude that women should have. We should just, as long as the guy is not a cruel man who treats a woman like absolute crap, if he's a hard-working guy that works, and he treats her very well, and he does what he needs to as a husband, I think us women should, drop the whole that radical feminist ball and have all these ridiculous expectations from men that they will not ever be able to meet. I mean, imagine men having those expectations on women. There's no way. A lot of radical feminists will be steaming if men had those same standards on the women as a lot of these radical feminists have on men. I mean, there's a whole lot of issues, and there's a lot of reasons why there's a lot of men who are straight men that refuse to be with a woman. And many of them have been hurt by women. I know that's a radical thing to think about for a lot of feminist women, because they want to pretend that doesn't exist. They don't want to believe that men actually feel pain, or that they could actually be hurt by a woman. They don't want to believe that women can sometimes be the monsters in the story, or be the monsters in a relationship. Ladies, let me help you. There's a bunch of beliefs in the radical feminist system that you've got to drop. First and foremost, the belief of that every man is a terrible monster, while every woman is a sweet angel, even when she's in the wrong and been proven to be in wrong. Even when she's the liar and proven to be the liar. Drop that now. Both men and women have flaws. Both have sinned against God. And